the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Marcus Aurelius. Rejection. It is something we all fear, something we avoid, something that leaves us feeling vulnerable, small, and often defeated. Yet if we understand the principles of Stoicism, we begin to see rejection not as a wall blocking our path, but as a tool, a forge where the sharpest swords are shaped. It is in the furnace of rejection that we can learn to master ourselves, not by succumbing to destructive emotions, but by overcoming them with a mind sharpened by reason and fortitude. Today we will dive into 13 timeless lessons, drawn from the teachings of the Stoics, on how to transform rejection into an ally, how to turn it into a force that works in our favor rather than against us. As we explore these lessons, you will discover the power within you to stand firm amidst life's trials, embracing rejection with a new mindset, not as failure, but as the beginning of a new, more resilient self. In these words, you will not find the hollow promise of success overnight. You will not find a quick fix to life's inevitable struggles. Instead, you will find the profound wisdom of Stoicism, a philosophy that teaches us to withstand, to adapt, to rise, and most importantly, to thrive. Together, we will uncover how rejection, when seen through the Stoic lens, is not an end but a beginning, not a loss, but an opportunity. Let us begin. Lesson 1. Rejection reveals the power of perspective. The Stoics believed that it is not events themselves that disturb us, but the views we take of them. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. When we are rejected, we have two choices. We can allow it to break us, or we can reframe it in our minds and use it as fuel for growth. Rejection is a reflection of someone else's perception, not a universal truth. It is simply one person's opinion, or perhaps the result of circumstances beyond our control. We cannot dictate how others will respond to us, but we can choose how we will interpret and react to that response. Our challenge is to shift our perspective, to see rejection as information rather than condemnation. It tells us where we stand in the eyes of others and points out areas where we might improve. But it does not define us unless we allow it to. When we change our perspective, we regain control over how rejection influences us. Lesson 2. The ego must be tamed. Rejection often wounds the ego, but Stoicism teaches us that the ego is not a reliable guide. It seeks approval, validation, and external recognition, things that are beyond our control. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus warned against becoming enslaved by things outside of our control, reminding us that freedom comes from within. When we face rejection, the ego screams for revenge, validation, or approval. But the true Stoic knows that the path to inner peace lies in quieting the ego. Rejection is an opportunity to humble ourselves, to accept that we are not entitled to anything in this world, and to focus on what we can control, our own thoughts, actions, and responses. It is in rejecting the demands of the ego that we find true strength. The Stoic who masters their ego is untouchable, for their sense of self-worth comes from their character, not from the opinions of others. Lesson 3. Rejection is a test of emotional resilience. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Marcus Aurelius. Rejection stirs the storm within us, anger, sadness, frustration. But the Stoics believe that these emotions, while natural, are not to be indulged. They are signals, indications of our attachment to external things. We suffer not because of the rejection itself, but because of the meaning we attach to it. This is where Stoic resilience comes into play. The Stoic seeks to observe their emotions without becoming enslaved by them. They acknowledge the sting of rejection, but do not allow it to control their actions. The goal is not to become emotionless, but to develop emotional strength, to rise above the emotional turbulence, and respond with calm, reasoned thought. In rejection, we find a test of our inner fortitude. Will we let it control us, or will we remain the masters of our own minds? Lesson 4. Control what you can, accept what you cannot. Central to Stoic philosophy is the dichotomy of control, the idea that some things are within our control, while others are not. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. These words of Marcus Aurelius are particularly relevant when facing rejection. We cannot control whether others accept us or approve of us. We cannot force the world to conform to our desires, but we can control how we respond. Stoicism teaches us to focus our energy on the things within our power. our thoughts, actions, and attitudes. When rejection comes, we must ask ourselves, what can I learn from this? How can I improve? What actions can I take next? In focusing on these questions, we shift our attention away from the uncontrollable and toward the realm of our own influence. Lesson 5. Rejection is an opportunity for growth. The Stoics viewed adversity as the path to virtue. Marcus Aurelius believed that obstacles were not merely hindrances, but opportunities. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. When we are rejected, we are presented with a choice. We can see the rejection as an obstacle or as an opportunity. We can wallow in self-pity, or we can use the rejection as a catalyst for growth and self-improvement. Rejection is a chance to examine ourselves honestly. It forces us to confront our weaknesses and limitations, and it gives us the opportunity to strengthen our resolve. The Stoic knows that growth comes through challenge, not comfort. We must embrace rejection as a necessary step on the path to becoming our best selves. Lesson 6. Detachment leads to freedom. The Stoics were firm believers in the practice of detachment, not detachment from life or from others, but from the desire for specific outcomes. If you seek tranquility, do less, Marcus Aurelius advises. This is not an invitation to laziness, but a call to focus on what is truly necessary and to let go of our attachment to how things should be. When we are rejected, it often hurts because we are attached to a particular outcome. We wanted approval, we wanted success, we wanted to be chosen. But Stoicism teaches that peace comes from detaching ourselves from these desires. We do our best, we act with virtue, and then we let go of the results. By practicing detachment, we free ourselves from the emotional chains of rejection. We are no longer defined by the outcome, but by our own actions and intentions. Lesson 7. Use rejection as a mirror for self-reflection. He who fails to turn his own mind upon himself will often suffer in body and soul. Seneca. Rejection is an opportunity to look inward. Often, when we face rejection, our first instinct is to blame external factors. We blame the other person, the situation, or the unfairness of life. But the Stoics remind us that the true battle is always within. Rejection can serve as a mirror, reflecting back to us areas where we can improve. It forces us to confront our own shortcomings and weaknesses. This is not an invitation to self-criticism, but to self-awareness. In the face of rejection, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Where can I grow? How can I become a better version of myself? The Stoic knows that self-reflection is the key to personal growth, and that every rejection contains within it the seeds of self-improvement. Lesson 8. Adversity is the teacher of patience. Patience is a virtue extolled by the Stoics, and rejection is one of life's greatest teachers of patience. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." When we face rejection, it is easy to become impatient, to demand immediate validation or success. But the Stoic understands that life unfolds in its own time, and that true success requires perseverance. Rejection tests our patience. It teaches us to wait, to endure, and to keep moving forward even when the path is difficult. The Stoic accepts that setbacks are part of the journey, and that progress often comes slowly. In this way, rejection becomes a training ground for the development of patience, a virtue that will serve us well in all areas of life. Lesson 9. Rejection strengthens our resolve. Every rejection is an opportunity to strengthen our resolve. The Stoic approach to adversity is one of perseverance. Epictetus famously said, "No great thing is created suddenly, any more than a bunch of grapes or a fig. If you tell me that you desire a fig, I answer you that there must be time. Let it first blossom, then bear fruit, then ripen." When we face rejection, we are being asked to test our resolve. Will we give up at the first sign of difficulty, or will we press on? The Stoic knows that true success comes not from avoiding rejection, but from pushing through it. Each rejection strengthens our will, hardens our determination, and brings us closer to our goal. Lesson 10. Rejection builds character. The Stoics believe that adversity shapes our character. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing." Life, like wrestling, is full of resistance and struggle, and it is through this struggle that we build our character. Rejection is one of life's most powerful character-building experiences. It tests our strength, our humility, and our perseverance. It forces us to confront our weaknesses and to rise above them. The Stoic sees rejection as a necessary part of becoming the person we are meant to be. Each time we face rejection, we have the opportunity to build our character. We can choose to become bitter, or we can choose to become better. The Stoic chooses the latter, knowing that character is the most important thing we can develop in this life. Lesson 11, Rejection, teaches us to let go of control. One of the most difficult lessons in life is learning to let go of control. The Stoics understood that much of our suffering comes from our desire to control things that are beyond our power. To live happily, wrote Epictetus, is an inward power of the soul. Rejection teaches us this lesson in a powerful way. No matter how hard we try, we cannot control how others will respond to us. We cannot force them to accept us, approve of us, or choose us. The Stoic understands that peace comes from releasing this need for control. In the face of rejection, the Stoic lets go. They accept that they cannot control the outcome, and they focus instead on what they can control: their own thoughts, actions, and responses. This is where true freedom lies. Lesson 12. Rejection fuels the fire of purpose. The Stoics believe that each of us has a unique purpose in life, a role to fulfill that is aligned with nature. When we face rejection, it is easy to lose sight of that purpose, to feel discouraged or directionless. But the Stoic knows that rejection is not the end of the journey, it is merely a detour. Rejection can serve to clarify our purpose. It forces us to reassess our goals, to realign with our true path, and to reignite our passion for what truly matters. When we are rejected, we must ask ourselves, what is my purpose? How can I use this setback to fuel my progress toward that purpose? In this way, rejection becomes a source of motivation. It pushes us to dig deeper, to find new strength, and to keep moving forward with renewed determination. Lesson 13. Rejection is the gateway to inner freedom. In the end, the greatest lesson that rejection teaches us is the path to inner freedom. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus wrote, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." Rejection, when understood through the lens of Stoicism, is not a threat to our freedom. It is the gateway to it. Each rejection is an opportunity to detach ourselves from the opinions and judgments of others, to let go of our attachment to outcomes, and to find our peace within. The Stoic knows that true freedom comes not from external validation, but from inner mastery. When we face rejection, we are being invited to cultivate this inner freedom, to rise above the fear of failure, and to live in alignment with our own values and purpose. Rejection is inevitable in life. It is a part of the human experience that we cannot escape. But the Stoic understands that rejection is not something to be feared. It is something to be embraced. It is an opportunity for growth, for self-mastery, and for the cultivation of inner strength. By applying the lessons of Stoicism, we can learn to use rejection to our favor. We can transform it from a source of pain into a source of power. We can rise above the emotions that threaten to control us, and we can forge a path of resilience, wisdom, and fortitude. Remember, rejection is not the end of the road. It is simply a step along the way. And in the words of Marcus Aurelius, what stands in the way becomes the way. Let rejection be your way forward. What are your views on this? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I will personally read all of your comments. And if you seriously want to level up in life, don't forget to show some love by hitting the like and subscribe button. Stay strong. Until next time.